Hello.
Hey, welcome back. I made fun of Ashley yesterday for saying welcome back when we've been gone for 10 seconds. Then I did it anyway.
Yes.
But we are joined by Dominic Guay. Did I say that right? Yeah. From Ubisoft Montreal. Ubisoft. Montreal. I always say it wrong.
Okay, Ryan just sat over
I have
here
a
and was
problem.
like, Ubisoft,
I have a real
Ubisoft,
problem.
and he can never get it. I'm like, correct him, and he'll be like, Ubisoft. And I'm like, wrong. So,
Both works.
Ubisoft, don't
Yeah,
feed it into
no,
his.
no, I'm a failure on every level. But you were a senior producer on
Yes.
Watch Dogs, and
Yeah.
you were a senior producer on Watch Dogs 1,
Yes.
correct?
Yes. So, first of all, congratulations, Watch Dogs 2. A lot of people are very excited.
Thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit? We've got a new setting. We've got a new protagonist. Tell us just a little bit about Watch Dogs 2.
Yeah, so we're set in the San Francisco Bay this time around, and you play as Marcus. He's a hacker, super smart guy who was born and raised in Oakland, and he becomes unjustly profiled by the system, by technology, surveillance system, flagged him as a criminal. And so that, kind of, he rebels against the system. He wants to fight that, he wants to oppose and break down the establishment.
Very cool. So Watch Dogs 1, very ambitious in its breadth and scope. Watch Dogs 2, obviously we're taking a look at it now. It has a huge map. San Francisco, not a small town as it turns out.
No, and it wasn't enough for us, so we took on the whole bay. So we brought in Oakland and Marin County and part of Silicon Valley also.
Very cool. So can you tell us how Watch Dogs 1, your experience with that, shaped Watch Dogs 2?
Yeah, in quite a few ways. Obviously, hacking has always been important for us. And with player feedback and our own understanding of what we've done in Watch Dogs 1, we wanted to add a lot more depth to hacking. So we made it more powerful and also let players be more creative with what they could do with it. So we opened it up, allow you to hack anyone in the city, any car, a lot more electronics, and also gave you a lot more hacking abilities so you can make your own plans as you do missions. So that was a big central thing that we wanted to push for sure.
It seems like you guys also spend a lot more time on making your protagonist a lot more physically dynamic. He's more active, more focused on parkour and how he gets around the city.
Yeah, he's agile, he's fast. So yes, we pushed parkour. We also have a new melee weapon he calls the Thunderball, which we'll see a little bit later on. And we also brought back shooting. I mean, a lot of players enjoy shooting in Watch Dogs 1. And so this time around, you'll be crafting your own weapons, 3D printed weapons that you can
Of course.
customize, that you can upgrade. So we're also pushing on that front.
Very cool. So can you talk a little bit about how the hacking is going to work? Is it just automatic? Are there ever going to be things where you need to play some sort of mini game to hack them, or like the bigger, more complicated hacks?
So for us, it's always been about chaining hacking with action, so we don't want to lose that. So we still do what we call quick hacking. So you can chain driving with hacking with shooting. So there are cases where you're going to have to figure out how to hack very difficult targets. You can call them puzzles if you want. But most of the hacks you're going to do are mostly going to be about you figuring out the best plan, how to improvise with your abilities instead of doing a mini game for 30 minutes.
Fair enough, fair enough. So Watch Dogs 1, Adrian Pierce, is he going to make any sort of appearance in this game at all?
So I won't answer that directly.
Yeah.
I will say, however, that the game is happening in the same universe. So everything that happened in Watch Dogs 1 is part of Watch Dogs 2. This is happening a few years afterwards. So the Chicago events and Aiden Pierce, the vigilante, they are part of that world. And that's like our aware of what he did in the past. So we'll see where that leads us.
Now, how's the cooperative? So the campaign missions will also be available in cooperative play. How will that tie into? Do you just spontaneously join someone, or is it something that you have to form a lobby?
Yeah, so I'm particularly excited about what we're doing with co-op because it's seamless. So it means that as you go around the world, you're going to see other players, and they're going to see you. And you're in single player. You didn't choose to be in co-op. You just play the game, see someone else, and you can invite them to play in co-op with you. So it's super organic how you join up with someone. Afterwards, however, you can't play all of the missions in co-op. We separated some missions you can only play in single player because they're very narrative, and the missions that you can play in co-op are more replayable in nature. Also, we can change the objective and make it harder so you can replay them multiple times. However, any mission you play, any quest you do is going to give you followers, people backing up DedSec, and that's kind of what you're trying to do in the storyline. You're trying to get a certain level of followers so that you do co-op, PvP, or quests in single player, you always get closer to that end goal. So you can basically almost finish the game doing only co-op in that sense.
Now, if they are just there in the world, can they work against you if they choose to?
Are you bringing back hacking with like random nature?
Yeah, so that's kind of our signature PvP mode from Watch Dogs 1. So you can get invaded by players, but now since you're in co-op, even when you're in co-op, you could be invaded by someone else. That creates a new interesting dynamic. And we also have another cool PvP mode we'll be announcing in a few months. But most of the players you'll normally be meeting in the worlds are other DedSec hackers. So you're part of the same hacker group. So no friendly fire, no griefing with those people.
So can you tell us a little bit about, well, it's kind of like zooming out of Watch Dogs a little bit. There's a lot of themes here that you guys are working with, information, encryption, technology, things that are very relevant to the world we live in now. How much are you guys influenced by today's events, things that might be happening, someone like Edward Snowden, someone who's very outspoken in encryption? How does that affect your team?
So very much so grounded in what happens in our world, and what we try to do is a little what if, obviously, so we crank it up to 11. But when you look at what happens with big data, how computers sometimes know more about us than we know about ourselves, how you can be profiled, not just by your gender or race, but also by what you posted on social media 10 years ago, what's your revenues, the amount of data that computers have on us. Those are super interesting subjects. So those are what we root our stories in. And it's interesting because we started building the game 25 months ago, and then every week, every month, there's like newspaper articles and media pieces on subject matters that are in our quests. So you can't really do that at last minute because we build the game 2 years in advance. But because we're on relevant topics, kind of the current events are catching up with the game, so which is interesting for us. But at the same time, we have serious topics, but we don't try to take ourselves too seriously. So wanted to have a lighter tone game, and we're trying to create a group of hackers who have fun while doing all those crazy missions.
So we meet a guy in this trailer. I believe we've actually are about to hang out with him or just hung out with him. He's got this really cool mask that has like emoji eyes and so many studs. Cosplayers are already buying stud guns by the dozens, I'm sure. So can you talk a little bit about A, the characters we're going to be meeting this game, and B, cosplay for this kind of stuff? Because Aiden Pierce was, I did see some cosplay of him, but he's a little more low key. But then you have these kind of characters that are a little wackier, a little more fun costume wise. How does that affect you guys?
Yeah, for sure they're more colorful. We got inspired by our setting also. People are a bit more out there around San Francisco and the Bay Area. Obviously Wrench is a special character. He's our resident anarchist. He's a bit violent, but he's also very protective of his buddies, and he's super funny. And yeah, we're already seeing a lot of people trying to cosplay him, which was not the goal to begin with, just to be clear. It was not the goal. We're not evilly engineering characters to be cosplayed. But we wanted to make them colorful. We wanted to make them fun. And hopefully a lot of people are finding that too. So.
Yeah, officially licensed goggles that do emoji eyes are obviously the way to go,
hot
for
ticket
sure.
item. Yeah.
Absolutely.
All the kids will want them for Halloween. So it seems like there's you've taken the idea of being a hacker infiltrator even further in this game than you did in the previous one. Do you still have the balance though between having the option to go in hot and do combat style versus infiltrate? Was that kind of a challenge to keep that in a good balance?
It's definitely a challenge. When you look at Watch Dogs player, they play in so wildly different styles, and you don't want to cut off any of those styles. And some people say, I don't want, there shouldn't be guns in Watch Dogs. Well, yeah, but there's a lot of players who enjoy shooting and want to use it to do the missions. And we're okay with that. We support that. But we wanted to give you more use of hacking in whatever style you use. So there's people going very aggressive with guns and explosive, but we made hacking powerful so that it would be part of their loop and arsenal. But there's a lot of people who want to go in stealthily, and I think it's a style that fit really well with our hacker culture thing, and so we pushed that a lot. Also added a lot of powerful hacking for stealth infiltration. And then there's another style I like to call the trickster, which we pushed a lot also with the drones, which is you stay physically away from your enemies and you use your drones and you use your hacking to get to your objectives. And then you get out of there and no one's the wiser. You weren't even physically in danger at any time. So that's probably the most challenging style to play, but it's also probably the most satisfying from a hacker perspective. And then most people, they just switch from one to another depending on how things go in the game.
So I have a question, two questions. One you can probably answer, one you probably can't. The one you can probably answer is it possible to complete the game without ever firing a gun or going all stealth or going all drone warfare? Is it possible to kind of take that path?
Absolutely. So actually, we asked our QC to continually test the game with non-lethal playthrough to make sure we maintain that, so that we didn't end up adding some forced shoot or forced kill at any point. So we want to support non-lethal playthrough. It's not going to be easy to do, but there's a lot of players out there who want to do it and want to support that. We also added a taser weapon, so that's going to be helpful to be able to use projectile and kill people. And also we used zappers, so not necessarily using grenades all the time. So we're giving different tools so you can go non-lethal, but it's also possible to stealth your way through. We tried to avoid missions that force you to shoot if you didn't want to shoot and give you freedom throughout the game.
Seems like. Oh,
Sorry, the question you probably can't answer. Are
Okay.
there achievements for going that way, one way or the other?
I can't answer it because we haven't locked achievement yet.
Ah,
But what
no
we'll wa-
achievement lock yet.
But what we'll want to avoid, though, and I just want to make that clear, is we'll avoid achievements that force you to do things you don't want to do. Because one of the
Thank you.
we
I
got-
appreciate
Yeah,
that.
we
Sure,
got some
someone
flack in Watch Dogs 1 because we had some achievements that were super hard to do, and people got frustrated because they said, I've spent like 5 hours trying to get that achievement. So we're going to try and make achievements fair and not force you into spending a lot of time doing things you don't want to do.
I do recall Gavin playing Watch Dogs 1 very passionately and trying to get, I can't remember what the achievement was, but he walked up and down the same street like 20 times. And when he finally got it, the celebration, I think you would have been proud to have seen.
I would bet it's the song. People tried finding a specific song for a lot of time.
It was like unlocking different tunes.
Yeah, so yeah, we're not doing that.
Yeah, no,
Promise.
there'll be no
gone.
more of that. There'll be no songstresses. We actually have some questions here from the audience. Vince Grambling asks what new hacking abilities there are in Watch Dogs 2.
Yeah. So there's quite a few. I'll start with what we call remote controls. So in Watch Dogs 1, you could hack and remotely control cameras. It was pretty much the only hack we had of that nature. And we realized it was a lot of fun because you had more control, and it wasn't just binary up, down, or explode, or something like that. So we added more things you could remotely control. Obviously, your drones, but also other things. Like in the mission there, you see the crane, so you can actually hack in a crane, go in it, you go wherever you want with that crane. So that's an example of what we call remote control hacks. Then what we have also is what we call mass hacking, which is hacking an entire area. We had the blackout in Watch Dogs 1. So you create very powerful effects. We showed in that demo a mass distract, which you can use both out and in combat. Actually, we use it in both cases there. And we have other of those categories. And so those are two important things. And then something else we added to hacking is what we call network hacking. You saw a little bit of that in the demo, is when we changed the view mode, that actually represents having your code roaming the networks around you and trying to find interesting things for you. So we use that for a few things. First, for opportunities. You can see all the opportunities to hack around you. But also, gone are the days where you're trying to find the correct angles to see what you need to hack, because in that mode, you can hack through objects, you can hack through walls. So.
This particular game is based in San Francisco in the Bay Area. How true to that area were you when creating the map?
So, we try to get as much as we could from the real area, the real San Francisco Bay. We have about 150 iconic areas, iconic landmarks that I want to make sure we bring back directly. At the same time, we need to scale it down. When I talk about Silicon Valley, that's a huge place, so we need to scale it down. So to be fair, San Francisco is very, very close to the real. We kept the scale reasonably fitting. Oakland also, Marin County, we scaled it down a lot. It's a big natural preserve. And Silicon Valley is probably the area we made more of a theme park version of, because you want to keep the cool places, the tech HQs like the big campuses and Stanford and places like that. But you don't want to have 4 hours of driving to get to San Jose or something. So we scaled that one down tremendously. But one of the big changes that trying to keep true to the real city brought is even looking at the map now in the game. Instead of seeing like a million icons like we've seen in past games, we focus more on the places, like a real map. You'll see like Pier 39 or maybe this court tower. And so you don't go to an icon, you can actually go to places. And then once you're there, you go in network hacking and you try to find opportunities, you try to find gameplay. So we're trying to switch it around. So exploration is more about going around the world to places that you want to visit instead of to icons.
Speaking of places we want to visit, please tell me we get to play in Alcatraz, because I'm a huge Alcatraz nut and I just want to hack everything that there's no tech in there whatsoever, but I will open and close the doors.
The prisoners are all gone.
So it's a funny story, because actually I didn't go to Alcatraz in the game for like 2-3 months. So it used to just be the island and a few like gray blocks on it. And last week I sailed to it in the game, and I went to it, and now the whole place is there.
Yes.
Prisons, gates.
Can you give
open and
tours
close
to
the
other
gates.
people?
Yeah,
Did you
I
know
did
they're
my own
prisoners?
tour. So it's really cool.
That's very, very cool. Very excited. We actually have a tweet here from Laurel, who just says the Watch Dogs graphics looks absolutely amazing. So thanks for that, Laurel. We think so too. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
It's awesome. Thank you. We're going to throw it back over to Joel and Adam.